Airlines have been lying to you for 70 years. They convinced you that a 43 centimeter seat width is fine, that this is normal even though your shoulders are 48 centimeters wide, that flying for 12 hours with your knees jammed into the seat in front of you is what economy class is supposed to be, and that the difference between economy and first class justifies a 15-fold price increase. All of this is the result of the trick. It was invented by a clever airline back in 1955, and ever since then they've been squeezing money out of you using these rules. Now I'm going to break down this system piece by piece, show you the real difference between the classes, and teach you how to fly in business class for the price of economy. In the 1950s, all passengers sat the same way and paid the same price. Airlines looked at wealthy businessmen and thought, these people can pay more. But the problem was the regulators. In the US, the law prohibited charging different prices for seats on the same flight. September 1955, the airline World Airlines, TWA, they took the same plane, the same seats, and just hung a curtain in the middle of the cabin. That's it, literally just a piece of fabric. In front of the curtain was first class, behind it was economy. So what actually changed? Yeah, pretty much nothing. They served steak instead of a sandwich and free champagne in first class. So they went to the regulator and said, look, we're offering a different product. Steak and champagne here and a sandwich and water there. It's not the same thing. And the regulator agreed. And you know what? Price doubled. People bought into it because they weren't paying for comfort, they were paying for status, for the right to say, I fly first class. And the airlines realized, oh my God, this is a gold mine. Pan Am sees the success and copies it. United copies it too. Within 3 years, all airlines had introduced class separation. 1979, Australian Qantas looks at the price gap between first class and economy and thinks, why not add another class in the middle? And they introduced business class. The seat's a bit wider, the food's a bit better, and the price is higher. A year later, everyone copies it. Gradually, business class prices go up, first class prices shoot through the roof. Well, it's all about status. In 1992, the Taiwanese airline EVA looked at all this and said, okay, there's also a gap between business and economy. Let's squeeze in one more class there. And that's how the very first premium economy was created. On December 12th, the Taipei-Los Angeles flight made history for the first time. Today, a single plane can have up to 5 classes, from basic economy all the way to first class. What's the difference? A few centimeters, marketing of course, and well, status. So how are they actually different? Let's take a look. Economy class, seat width, 43 centimeters, seat pitch, 79 centimeters, seat recline angle, 118 degrees. Let's put that in plain English. If you're taller than 175 centimeters, your knees will be pressed against the seat in front of you. Always. The average man's shoulder width is 45 centimeters, but the seat is only 43 centimeters wide. So it's physically impossible not to touch your neighbors on either side. And the recline angle is 118 degrees. That's a position where it's impossible to get a deep sleep. Your body will wake up every 40 to 60 minutes. None of this is accidental. These are experimentally determined numbers designed to cram as many passengers as possible into economy class while still avoiding mass complaints about comfort. They actually conduct entire studies on this. So, for example, they might slightly reduce the seat pitch, have people sit there for 2 hours, and then survey them afterward. And so on, just to find that exact point where people start complaining too much. Business class. Usually these are reclining seats, sometimes even fully flat or almost flat beds. And everyone has direct access to the aisle. And then there's first class, all the way up to private suites with closing doors, onboard showers, double beds, and custom tailored pajamas, tailored to your measurements, wardrobes for your clothes, and huge TVs. Food service. In economy, it's basically cafeteria level, mass-produced and cheap. In business class, it's more like a decent mid-range restaurant with a menu to choose your dishes from. But in first class, it's a high-end restaurant with a chef and premium ingredients. Onboard service. In economy, it's standard. One flight attendant for about 50 passengers. In business class, you get a more personalized approach, specially trained staff with one flight attendant for every 6 to 12 passengers. And then in first class, it's premium. Usually you have a dedicated flight attendant assigned to you. As for the airport, in economy, it's clear. You use the general waiting areas. In business class, there are special business lounges, priority service, and boarding. And in first class, there are premium lounges that you can't just buy your way into. priority service and boarding, up to the point where you're driven right up to the plane in a private car. And what about baggage? Well, in economy class, it's just the standard allowance. In business class, you usually get double the limit compared to economy class. And in first class, it's either triple the limit or sometimes there's no baggage limit at all. And of course, the most important thing is the price. Business class costs on average 3 to 6 times more than economy. First class is 10, 12, even 15 times more expensive than economy. So for example, if your economy class ticket costs $700, then a business class ticket will be $3,000 and first class could be $10,000 or even $15,000. By the way, have you ever flown business or first class? What was your experience like? Share with us, was it comfortable or uncomfortable? Was it worth the money you spent? Besides that, there are also intermediate classes. Economy Plus often just means a little more leg room, and often these are simply seats by the emergency exits. So there are seats where you can stretch your legs out. These are either the first row of economy class, where there aren't any seats in front of you, just a curtain or a partition. Usually the TVs are mounted on the wall there, and you can settle in much more comfortably. Or there's seats by the emergency exits. Yeah, the seat pitch is a bit bigger there. There's more space and you can stretch your legs out. And then some savvy airlines realized, well, why should we sell these seats for the same price, even though they're still economy class and offer the same service? Let's separate them into a special class, Economy Plus, and charge extra for them, Premium Economy. It's something in between regular economy and business class. At the same time, different airlines offer different sets of services and perks. There's no single standard here. Business Plus, they came up with that too. For example, with Emirates or Singapore, it's the first row of business class with extra leg room. Well, it'd be a shame not to charge another $500 for that. And then there are suites, that's above first class. Some airlines have these private rooms for passengers on the A380. The space can be as big as a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. So just imagine, many of us have apartments that are smaller than this space on a plane. They start at around $25,000 and up. This isn't commercial aviation anymore. It's practically a private jet. But remember, not all business classes are the same across different airlines. And even within the same airline. For example, I recently flew from Barcelona to St. Petersburg with Turkish Airlines via Istanbul. There were 2 segments. Barcelona to Istanbul was on a wide-body A330. Excellent business class. Seats that recline into an almost flat bed. A separate cabin, exclusive meals. Everything was great. I really enjoyed that segment. We landed in Istanbul. Then from Istanbul to St. Petersburg, it was a different plane, an A321. Same airline, same business class. Same surcharge for this business class, but a completely different experience. Because there are no separate cabins, no reclining seats. It's just a few seats at the front of the same cabin. Sure, the food is a bit better and you get more attention, but the comfort level is pretty much the same as in economy. So make sure to check which aircraft you're flying on, the specific plane, and don't overpay for this kind of business class. Here's what you might call business class. By the way, in Europe, this happens very often on short flights. There's this business class that costs several times more than economy, but it's actually not that different from economy at all. Besides, the quality of business class depends not only on the plane, but also on the airline. Emirates is considered the best in business class. It's all about comfort, with a bar, good champagne, and wide aisles. Cathay Pacific, that's privacy and great service. People who have flown with them give excellent reviews. The Japanese airline, ANA, they offer huge space and such an innovative layout. Singapore Airlines, of course, is also one of the leaders in business class comfort. And then there's Qatar Airways with fully private suites with doors, widely recognized as the world's best business class. But the weakest business classes are with European airlines, like British Airlines, especially on their older planes. KLM has a weak business class too, and of course so do the American carriers, because the competition there is fierce. They cut costs everywhere, including in business class. You know, speaking of business class, sometimes we're even willing to pay a ton of money for it just to travel comfortably, and then we arrive in a country and we have no idea where to go. I've run into this dozens of times myself. People arrive, say, in Japan. They're in great shape, well rested, and a good mood, and they have no idea where to go. They waste time, they spend their first day just figuring out transportation, sightseeing, and finding interest in places. That's where both time and money get lost. Because a comfortable flight is great, of course. But if you don't have a clear plan, your trip probably won't turn out well. That's exactly why at Dallure Travel, we don't just make itineraries. We create itineraries where every day is planned out, so you get the most out of your experience. And at the same time, you can see everything at your own pace and with total freedom. Plus, we offer online support. Any problem, any question, missed your train, don't know how to call a taxi, not sure where to eat? Just message us and we'll solve your issue within 5 minutes. You arrive at the hotel and they start speaking to you in a language you don't understand, asking you something. Just hand us the phone, we'll talk to them and sort everything out. And the best part is, all of this costs the same as a regular group tour, or even less. And at the same time, you travel on your own, not tied to a group, with complete freedom. So if you want an amazing, personalized trip without overpaying, just message me and I'll explain how we can make it work for your budget. The link is in the description. But what about first class on Air Planet? Well, it's slowly dying out. Over the past 10 years, almost all American airlines have gotten rid of first class. United, Delta, American, and so on. Why is that? Well, first of all, demand is dropping. Americans watch their money. Even millionaires are flying business class now. Secondly, business class is almost caught up to first class. Modern business class is so good, the customers just don't see the point in paying 3 times more for a few extra perks. Just 15% more comfort. And those who care about status fly private jets anyway. First class isn't cool anymore, but some airlines still keep it. For example, Emirates, Singapore, or Lufthansa, because first class is all about marketing. Everyone loves looking at photos of the shower on board the A380. Reviews, hype on social media. People see it, they're amazed, they're impressed. And what do? They can't afford first class, but they buy business class. First class doesn't pay for itself through first class ticket sales. It pays off because people, after seeing all that, end up buying expensive business class fares. It's a showcase and advertisement for the brand. And of course, the Arabs fly their sheiks, the Asians fly their billionaires, and the Europeans fly their top executives. Well, and Americans save money. And if you want to know how millionaires travel in luxury, how they get VIP tours, and how they waste their money so carelessly, check out my other video. The link is in the description. Now, here's the most important part. How can you get into premium class if you're not rich? There are a few ways. First, it's all about timing your purchase right. Business class often goes unsold, even when there are no seats left in economy. And about 2 to 3 days before departure, the prices drop. Sometimes by 2 or even 3 times. For example, I get an email 2 days before my flight. An exclusive offer just for you. You can upgrade to business class for half the price. The lowest prices are still ahead. On the very last day, prices hit rock bottom, right at the hour when check-in for the flight opens at the airport. Well, about 3 hours before departure. That's when you can snag a business class seat at the lowest prices, paying just a little extra. Because for the airline, it's better to sell something to get at least some money from a passenger for that business class seat rather than leave the seat empty. The second way, upgrading with miles. And never get tired of saying this, join every airline's frequent flyer program. Even if you don't know whether you'll fly with them again or not. And of course, it's more profitable to earn miles not just by flying, but for example, if you have a bank card that's linked to a mileage program with one of the airlines. For example, I had an S7 mileage program linked to my bank card for a long time. I saved up, I think, 500,000 miles there. I kept waiting, thinking I'd save up enough to take my whole family to New Zealand. But then, as we all know, things changed with Russian airlines. Now, nobody flies to New Zealand anymore, so those miles are just sitting there unused. Maybe they've already expired. I should probably do something with them. And of course, all experienced travelers know that it's not worth it to just buy economy tickets with miles. The best way to use miles is when you buy an economy ticket with cash and then use your miles to upgrade it to business or first class. That way, every mile you use is worth the most money. And the third option, of course, is to get an upgrade at the airport counter. You just go up and politely ask if it's possible to upgrade to business class. And how much would that cost? Usually, if there are available seats, the price will be the lowest possible. But it's even nicer to get that upgrade for free. Often, the airline will just offer it to you. They evaluate you, and your chances are highest if you're traveling alone, if you look presentable, and if you're enrolled in their mileage program. For example, with Turkish Airlines, I get offered free business class upgrades at the counter pretty often. Well, mostly because I am with them, with elite status in the mileage program. I honestly can't remember ever actually buying a business class ticket. Usually, I only get free upgrades. I mean, I have a lot of miles with different airlines, plus I often fly alone, so I'm exactly the kind of good target for an upgrade. The first time it happened was with Turkish Airlines, and it was just what I needed at the time. Because I hadn't slept all night, I was working, and I had a flight in the morning. So I thought I'll just catch up on sleep on the plane. Yeah, I get to the airport and they give me an upgrade to business class, and it was a really good business class. Wide body plane, the seat reclined all the way into a bed, and I really enjoyed it. First, I had a great meal, then I slept well, then I woke up, watched some TV, and before I knew it, we had already landed. So that time, it was just perfect for me. But on the other hand, I could have slept just fine in economy too. They already have all the food prepared for business class anyway. Otherwise, they'll just throw it out. And here, the seat would just stay heavy. So why not do something nice for your passenger who flies with you often? And naturally, if the Turks do this for me, the next time when I have to choose between, I don't know, Turkish Airlines and Pegasus or someone else, between the Turks and the Serbs, of course, I'll probably choose the Turks. Because I know, like, okay, they've already given me a free upgrade several times, but the Serbs, those jerks haven't given me one even once. And their business class isn't even that good. It's about playing a long game, building passenger loyalty. So, does it actually matter how you look? Is that something you run into pretty often? Because right there at the counter, the airline staff are sizing you up to see if you even fit in with business class or not. Like, if you show up in a dirty jacket and a backpack, they're not going to offer you a business class upgrade only if you look presentable, because that's where respectable people fly. And among all these respectable people, are you going to stand out like a sore thumb or not? They've got a trained eye. They can spot it right away, because it's not just about doing you a favor. It's also about making sure the other passengers don't give you weird looks, since you are a frequent flyer. The people in business class who paid for their own tickets, they pay 5 times more. And then suddenly, I don't know, they seat some bum in sweatpants next to them, or some scruffy student. Yeah, and about saving money. Absolutely. Check out my video about low-cost airlines. There, I explain how to fly cheaply and avoid hidden fees. Let's sum it up. When do you actually need premium classes? You want to emphasize your status. You're particular about comfort and want to get the most out of it. You're a big or tall person and can't fit into a regular seat. You have a lot of money, so paying 5, 10, or even 20 times more doesn't matter to you. You've racked up a bunch of miles that you want to spend in the most efficient way possible. Or maybe you have the chance to get an upgrade to a higher class for cheap, or even for free. An economy class will be just fine for you if you're not picky, you don't care about status or what people think, you're not tall or broad, you're thrifty and would rather spend your money on the trip itself than on the flight, and for short flights where sitting for an hour or two in a hard seat isn't a big deal and business class doesn't really impress you anyway. Just so you know, I've never flown first class. I've flown business several times, but never first class. Overall, I honestly think it's just not worth it. Plus, I've been lucky in this regard. I'm a pretty compact person, build-wise. My knees never hit the seat in front of me, even in super economy. I fly comfortably, I'm fine, and crying babies don't bother me. So I just don't get why I should pay 3 or even 5 times more for business class when I'm perfectly fine and comfortable traveling in economy. I'm not a picky person. I'd rather spend that money on something way more interesting. Yeah, I mean, even if I want a little luxury, I'd rather book a fancy hotel room with a great view. Wherever you fly, you'll get way more impressions from that than from having, I don't know, an extra 8 inches of legroom and slightly better food than in economy. Remember, a comfortable flight is great and all, but the real journey starts when you step off the plane. In my opinion, don't spend all your money on business class. It's better to spend that money on experiences once you're there. But if you want both comfort and experiences, just reach out to us. We'll help you out. The link is in the description.